Well, hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to my overview of Ghost of Tsushima. I suppose director's cut, PC, Steam version, whatever you would like to call it. So for those who want to cross it, on this channel I do overviews and reviews pretty much daily, and when I do an overview such as this, it's just a first look at the first 2 hours of the game. That's the Steam refund window. Steam reckons you can make up your mind about whether you want to keep a game or refund it in that time period, and I tend to agree. Broadly speaking, you're not going to change your mind about a game 20 hours in from what you thought 2 hours in. And of course, this helps me triage what I will and won't review going forward. So thoughts, straight out of the gate, really cool. Worth your time, worth your money. Oh, I reckon, but if this is your sort of thing, and by that I do mean PlayStation blockbusters. I don't know what else to call them, and I'm not trying to be derogatory or anything like that because I'm really enjoying this, but it is kind of still junk food, right? If you're looking for like super nuanced gameplay or anything like that that's breaking the barriers, you look elsewhere, look into, indie type games, but everything it does is clean. It's done some clever innovations. It's safe, and that's probably the best, most honest way to put it. It's safe. It's a safe place to put your money and put your time for, a grand adventure of high production. While I'm on that, just to cover myself as well, because I could see some people will just take issue, but that's such as the case of fanboys. Gameplay mechanically, it's sort of borrowing from, Arkham's roots in the fight, counter, parry systems, and what it does is fairly simple but really clean and really engaging and fun with mouse and keyboard. That was actually unusual to me. A lot of these games where they're ported across, they're clearly made for thumbsticks originally. In third-person action-adventure type games, I usually just play with thumbsticks, but I gave it a go with mouse and keyboard. And that combat, the interplay between, left is just a normal attack and right-click is like a heavy / guard break. And then beyond that, you're using Q for parry and sort of Alt for dodge. And that's it. That's as complicated as it is. And it's as complicated as it needs to be because all the timing windows and all that are very, very tight, and it's quite satisfying, which almost flies in the face of the conceit of this game that you are, from what I understand, it's not like I've played much of it, but you can see where it's going. Again, it is very much a Hollywood script, albeit done quite well, that you're going to become the Ghosts of Tsushima. It's this island that it's set on, it's covering the Mongols invading, and the Japanese in their stoic Bushido-based samurai warrior tradition basically get their shit kicked in the opening intro, and you're sort of, a last survivor. The game lays it on pretty thick, heavy and fast, which I'm not against. It doesn't really waste your time of belting the crap out of your character and putting him in a situation where narratively they've decided to go with, we're going to break the code and forego his moral rigidity to become essentially like a guerrilla fighter. I suppose you got to go with that. Suspension of disbelief is going to differ from person to person. The funny thing about moral rigidity is just that. You're not supposed to break your morals for any reason whatsoever. So, you got to be able to get over that hurdle. My one thought on it, and again, like I said, there's a good chance I review this and play through it in full because I am curious where it's going, and it is very pleasant to play. But boy, am I sick of like mainstream AAA deconstruction of fucking everything, right? Everything has to be morally grey and that sort of stuff. So on one hand, this game actually goes out of its way to really lay down how rigid their honor system is, and I'm kind of sitting there going, yeah, hoorah, let's go. But obviously the whole plot and a lot of the unlocks and the abilities, you're getting kunai and smoke bombs and all sorts of crap. They're kind of turning you into a ninja. Essentially the absolute polar opposite of samurai honor code warriorsmanship. There you go. I'll make a word up for you. And it seems to be held tastefully and done tastefully, but we'll see. I guess I'm just saying my appetite for modern deconstruction of, established tropes is a little bit low. But yeah, mechanically it seems quite solid. Everything that I've engaged with so far really feels good. And as much as I'm praising playing it without a controller, one thing that kind of sticks a little bit for me is, I don't know how to describe this, and we'll do our best. The way that your camera free look with your mouse, I'm using my hands, operates is that your character auto coordinates to realign to your pointing. And I can't help but think that that's a holdover from porting it from thumbsticks with a PlayStation controller. And when you think about it, I suppose, let's say you're galloping your horse over a bloody cliff edge and you want to look out at the skybox to the side. And if you were on PlayStation, I guess you could rip your thumbstick around on the right but you would keep driving by, like, say, holding right on the left thumbstick, not up, not W, but with a keyboard, that's not actually how you would do it. Keyboard, you would hold W to keep your horse going in a straight line, and you'd turn your mouse to look at right angles. And the game kind of fights you and forces you to sort of hold strafe to hold that line. Very difficult to describe. It also manifests in wherever the center is, because there's no crosshair, but wherever the center that your character looks seems to be offset where I naturally want to rest my mouse by like half an inch or something. And so I'll be walking along and holding the mouse to where I think center is, and my dude keeps drifting a little bit to the side. So you almost have to take your hand off the mouse to maintain the line. Difficult to describe. I hope people understand. And I looked everywhere for a setting to turn this shit off, and it was kind of driving me a little bit nuts, even though it's just sort of like the tiniest little thing, like having a smoke alarm battery unchanged or something like that. And after a while, it's going to wear you down, I reckon. But like, if I'm picking at things like that, that's probably good news. The game's quite brilliant. Artistically, it is very clever with what it's doing and its direction, and it's interesting. You see a lot of discourse, because this game's obviously been around for a little while, around how beautiful it is, and just be aware as a PC gamer going in. Now, I'm not a prude for super high performance or anything like that, but this isn't necessarily like super high fidelity textures, assets, ultra level beautiful that you might be expecting from something that came out this year native to PC with all your ray tracing and all that sort of crap. Like, under scrutiny, a lot of the models kind of look a bit rough. Again, I'm not trying to bash this game, but I'm just sort of wording up my fellow PC gamers. Why it looks so good and why it will probably stand the test of time and outlast other games that arguably have, in, quotation, better graphics, is because it has a much better artistic, cohesive direction. It leans very heavily into, sort of Japanese artistic tropes that transfer across, like falling leaves being used as constant animations and a lot of blowing winds. The way that the objective system, it's a bit of a gimmick, works is, if you press the wind button, it will blow the wind in the direction you're supposed to go, which is great. That's actually a very elegant way to stop you looking in the corner of the screen at a map or at a GPS locator or something like that. So it's much more organic and keeps you in the game, but it also leans into just about every object in this game reacts to the wind. So you have this sort of flowing, billowing grass and trees and all that. And like I said, so if you wanted to stop and look directly at the trees' textures and the leaves and branches and all that, they kind of do look a little bit rough. But the beauty of this game is the fact that everything's always getting blown around by wind or rain or falling petals and leaves, and they also really go hard on blasting bloom, lighting, and shadows and all that sort of stuff. So they're using all these artistic techniques to do the heavy lifting, and that's why it looks so beautiful. And in many ways, arguably more beautiful than what you would potentially call conventional high-fidelity textures, in a world where it can feel kind of lifeless and stagnant. So it's really interesting. But like I said, high production, absolute very top end of what you would probably want from, a AAA production PlayStation blockbuster, but of course very, very safe as well. And that's not necessarily negative, that might be exactly what you were looking for, but I thought it was probably worth covering off on that fairly evenly. But for my part, I really like it, and I'm gonna do my best to find some time to carve out to really, really cut my teeth in it and see how long it can hold me for. Anyway, team, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you reckon. Might just leave it there for the time being. I'll catch you guys on the next one.